Welcome back, friends. In this lesson we will learn how to create and format type in Photoshop. Open this project file. In the last few lessons we learned how to create vectors using vector shapes. Now another form of vector is type. Technically, type is considered vector shapes until we rasterize the type or convert it into pixels. Let's see how to create the type. In the tools panel, this is the type tool with the capital letter T. If we click and hold this, there are several type tools here. The horizontal type, the vertical type, and these are the horizontal type mask tool and vertical type mask tool. We are not going to talk about these in this lesson. What these actually do is, after creating the type, they help us to select the text to mask them out. Let's take this horizontal type tool and click anywhere on the canvas. As soon as we click on the canvas, this type layer is automatically created in the layers panel. On the canvas we get this little flashing text insertion cursor next to this black square. What we have done here is we have set Photoshop to create a point type by clicking at a point on our canvas. Let's hold down a letter to type. You will notice that Photoshop will continue to type along that line until we manually force it to a new line by hitting enter. I'll hit enter. It has now come to a new line. Now if I type, it's a new line. So this lets us completely dictate the size and the area that the type covers. Let's delete this layer. Select this layer and delete it. Let's again take the type tool, and this time we will specify the area where we want to create our type. This is known as area type. So if we click here and drag, it looks like a marquee selection tool. As soon as I leave the mouse, it has created this area with these transform controls. We can take these controls and resize the area like so. Let's type our headline here. Say skyline. Now if we press and hold a letter here, you will notice that as soon as our text reaches the boundary, it automatically wraps to a new line. Now if we keep on typing, there is a subtle change in this box. See this right corner box. There is this little plus sign. This indicates that there is more text than the box can hold. To fix that, we need to resize our box. If we resize our box, we can see the additional text here. Let's delete these letters and have a look at the control panel. The first option here is to basically change the orientation of the text. If I click on this, it will change the orientation. Let's hit it again. Now this one is to set the font. There are a lot of fonts to select from. Now if you find these fonts really small, Photoshop 6 has a new feature to increase the review of the font. To do that, we need to go to type and font preview size. Right now it is set to medium. If I set to huge, now if I see, we get nice big preview. We can also manually type the font here, of course if we remember the name. Let's select the text and type here Kremlin. Now what has Kremlin done? It has flipped the lower case letters backwards. These were all lowercase, so they are flipped backward. Let me type it again in capital letters. So this is the Kremlin font. Now this font Kremlin doesn't come with Photoshop. I have given a text file in the project files. You can find the link to download the fonts. Just download the font. It will be in a zip folder. Extract it, open it and install. It will automatically be installed in the Photoshop. Let's see some other options here. Here we can select a size, or we can type a size manually. First I'll have to select the text and then type a size. 'Too big', Now this next option is for anti-aliasing. Anti-aliasing means that Photoshop adds transparent pixels to the edges so that we don't get those jagged edges around our curves. Right now it is set to sharp. Now from top to bottom, the amount of anti-aliasing is in ascending order. This sharp is the least ascending amount of anti-aliasing and smooth is the clearest type with most amount of anti-aliasing. Now the method of anti-aliasing is directly related to the size of the type. Smaller the size, lesser should be the amount of anti-aliasing, and bigger the size, more should be the amount of anti-aliasing. If we use the smooth mode, you can see that the look of our letters has changed, because for this size this anti-aliasing is a lot. So let's keep it to sharp again. The look has changed again. Now these are the alignment options for the paragraph. This is the left, this is the center, and this is the right alignment. This is to change the color of the font. My font is selected. If we click on this, we get this color picker. If I select another color, it will change. Okay. Now this one is really interesting. These are the different presets to warp the text. The icon next to each preset gives us the preview of how that is going to warp. I'll cancel it. Let's zoom out a bit and rotate this text. Let's take our move tool and rotate it. I'm trying to align it the red lines. This one is fine. Let's resize this area. Let's increase the size of the font, say 100 points. Let's take our move tool and position it. We can also increase the size of the text with the move tool. Hold shift and increase the size proportionately, like so. I'll move it here, increase the size a bit more. I've increased the size of the text with the move tool, but if we look at the text, we can see that we have increased this size. Let's change the color of the text. First select the text and change this color to black. Now let's talk about this last option. This is very useful. There are a couple of panels that are really important to work with type. These are the character and the paragraph panel. Now these are both on the same panel. I'll click this and drag it down so that they are both on the different panels. I'll click on the character panel now. There are lots of options in this panel, some of same as these. This is to set the font, this is the size. Now this is the leading option. It sets the space between the lines of the types. Since we have just one line, we are not bothered about it. If you have multiple lines, you can set the spacing between those lines. This is called the kerning between two characters. It means this is the spacing between a pair of letters. Again, it has two options, the matrix and the optical. I'm fine with it right now. Now this is the tracking option. It sets the spacing between all the letters. If I try to change this, the spacing is being increased, like so, but I'll set it to 0 again. Now down here are some scaling options. This is the vertical scale, this is the horizontal scale, and this one sets the baseline shift. Now the baseline is the invisible line running at the bottom of the letters. This one is to change the color of the text. Now these options here are to change the styles such as bold, italic, all caps, etc. Feel free to explore all of these. Now these grayed out options are if there are some kind of ligatures available for the type we are using. There is also this option for the language and anti-aliasing. And this is the paragraph panel. It has a lot of options. The top ones are for the alignment. These one are the indentations, left indentation, right indentation, and this is for the first line if we are working in paragraphs. These are the options to set the space before and after the paragraph. This option will automatically hyphenate the words if we are working with lots of type. Some other things we can do with type are at this layers panel. If we right click on the type layer, these are the options available. We can rasterize the type, create work path. Before showing you any of these options, let's take our eraser tool and try to erase the text. We see this blocked cursor here. If we click here, Photoshop will ask us to rasterize the type layer. I'll cancel it. Let's now go here and select rasterize type. Now we can use the eraser tool to erase it. I'll undo. Let's convert it to shape. We can see that it has been converted to a shape. If we take the direct selection tool and select the path that makes up the letters. Let's undo. I'll show you another new feature of Photoshop CS6. Let's create some type here. Let's take the type tool and draw an area here. And set this font to Russian. If we want to put in a placeholder type, Photoshop now has the ability to insert lorem ipsum type for us. If you are a designer, you must be familiar with lorem ipsum. Let's change this size to 30 again. Go to type and paste lorem ipsum. This is lorem ipsum. Let's rotate it and reposition. This lorem ipsum is working as a placeholder here. If we have any type, we can switch it with this lorem ipsum. That's all for this lesson, friends. See you in the next lesson.